When you think of WWE rivalries, you often picture two equals, men who can match each other blow for blow. But every once in a while, WWE delivers a story so unbelievable that it captures the imagination of every fan watching. Such was the case with the Great Khali and Rey Mysterio, two men who couldn't have been more different. One, a 7'1" giant from India with hands the size of frying pans and a voice that could shake arenas. The other, a 5'6" masked underdog from Mexico, a man whose speed and heart defied logic. Their rivalry wasn't just about wins and losses, it was a story of extremes, power versus resilience, fear versus hope, and the eternal struggle between dominance and defiance. In 2006, the WWE Universe was still reeling from Rey Mysterio's unbelievable rise to the top. Just months earlier, the ultimate underdog had achieved the impossible, winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 22. It was a storybook moment. A man half the size of most heavyweights overcoming tragedy and adversity to honor the late Eddie Guerrero. But that same year, WWE unleashed a monster the likes of which fans had never seen before, the Great Khali. Standing over 7 feet tall and weighing more than 350 pounds, Khali was presented as a force of nature. He didn't talk much. He didn't need to. His actions spoke louder than any promo ever could. Under the guidance of Rivalries, Khali began a path of destruction, dismantling legends like The Undertaker, Batista, and even Kane. No one was safe, and soon, Rey Mysterio would become his next target. Their paths crossed for the first time on SmackDown in July 2006. Rey Mysterio, still the reigning World Heavyweight Champion, found himself face-to-face with a man who towered over him by nearly 2 feet. The visual alone was jaw-dropping. Khali's hand nearly covered Rey's entire head. For the first time, fans questioned whether even Mysterio's speed and agility could make a difference. When the bell rang, it was pure dominance. Khali toyed with Rey like a cat with a mouse, tossing him around the ring as though he weighed nothing. Every chop echoed like thunder. Every step shook the mat. Rey tried everything, drop kicks, springboards, even a 619, but nothing worked. Khali caught him mid-air and choke-bombed him into the canvas with terrifying force. The referee had no choice but to stop the match. Rey wasn't just defeated, he was decimated. And just like that, the fairy tale world champion looked mortal again. The aftermath was brutal. Khali and Rivalries mocked Rey's size and his status as champion. For weeks, SmackDown audiences watched the giant destroy anyone who tried to stand up for Rey, including luchadors and mid-carders desperate for revenge. Mysterio's confidence was shaken, but his spirit was not. He knew he couldn't outpower Khali, but he could outthink him. At Saturday night's main event that same summer, Rey tried to use his speed to avoid the giant's grasp. He flew around the ring, targeting Khali's legs and knees, but once again, one wrong move cost him everything. Khali caught him mid a 619 attempt, lifted him high into the air, and hit his devastating Khali bomb. The referee stopped the match again. This time, Rey was stretchered out of the arena, a rare sight for the proud champion. Fans wondered if this was the end of Rey's title reign. How could anyone, even a man of Rey's heart, overcome such a physical mismatch? After his dismantling of Rey, Khali moved on to terrorize the rest of SmackDown. He feuded with The Undertaker in a rivalry that further cemented him as WWE's most unstoppable monster. But the shadow of what he had done to Rey lingered. For Mysterio, the loss wasn't just physical, it was emotional. He had spent his career proving doubters wrong, but against Khali, he had been overpowered in ways fans had never seen before. When Mysterio finally dropped the World Heavyweight title later that year, many pointed to the beating from Khali as the beginning of his downfall. But, as history would show, Rey Mysterio was never one to stay down for long. In 2007, Mysterio returned from knee surgery with renewed energy. He had spent months recovering and rebuilding, determined to remind the world that size wasn't everything. Meanwhile, the Great Khali had reached the peak of his dominance. That summer, he captured the World Heavyweight Championship in a battle royal after Edge vacated the title due to injury. It was poetic. The same belt that Rey had won for the underdogs was now around the waist of the man who had crushed him. When Khali's championship reign began, Rey Mysterio was one of the first to challenge him. It was the ultimate redemption story, the little man facing the monster who had humiliated him a year earlier. Their encounter at SmackDown in August 2007 was short but unforgettable. Rey used every ounce of his agility to keep Khali off balance, targeting the legs, avoiding corner traps, hitting drop kicks with surgical precision. For a moment, it looked like the miracle could happen. But as Rey went for a 619, Khali caught him again, this time turning the momentum into a crushing vice grip submission. His arms flailed, his legs kicked, but the Giant's grip was unbreakable. The referee called for the bell. This time, Khali had conquered Mysterio, and this time on the biggest stage of his career as world champion. Most rivalries end after one or two dominant beatings, but not for Rey. If anything, the pain only made him more determined. Throughout 2008 and 2009, the two continued to cross paths in tag matches and battle royals. Each time, Rey grew smarter. He learned to use Khali's size against him, ducking, dodging, and baiting the Giant into hitting the ring post or the ropes. And in rare moments, he managed to stun Khali with quick strikes and precise attacks. In a 2009 episode of SmackDown, Rey even managed to knock Khali off his feet after a lightning-fast sequence ending with a 619. It wasn't a victory, but it was a statement. The Giant could fall. By 2010, the WWE landscape had changed. Khali, once a monstrous villain, began to evolve into something new, a gentle giant. Fans started to cheer him. He smiled more, spoke broken English, and slowly transitioned into a comedic fan favorite. Rey, on the other hand, had become one of WWE's most respected veterans, a global hero who represented the heart and spirit of Lucha Libre. When the two crossed paths again in multi-man matches and Royal Rumbles, the tone had shifted. It was no longer predator versus prey. At SmackDown tapings in 2011 and 2012, fans noticed the two often ended matches with nods of acknowledgement, a subtle callback to the rivalry that once defined both of them. It was as if Rey had finally earned the monster's respect, not through strength, but through persistence. The Great Khali versus Rey Mysterio rivalry was never about championships or lengthy promos. It was visual storytelling at its purest. David versus Goliath in its most literal form. Khali represented fear, dominance, and the limits of the human body. Rey represented courage, intelligence, and the limits of the human spirit. And while Khali won every official encounter between them, the narrative was clear. Rey Mysterio never truly lost. Because every time he stood up after being flattened, every time he returned to face the Giant again, he proved that heart was stronger than muscle, that courage was mightier than power. And in the years that followed, both men carved their legacies in very different ways. The Great Khali became WWE's first Indian-born world heavyweight champion and a trailblazer for South Asian representation in wrestling. He opened a door for future stars from India and became a cultural icon at home. Rey Mysterio continued to inspire millions around the world, winning multiple titles and proving that underdogs could indeed thrive in a land of giants. And while their rivalry wasn't the longest, it remains one of the most visually unforgettable feuds in WWE history, a true reminder that wrestling isn't always about equality, but about the will to fight when the odds are impossible. In the end, the Great Khali versus Rey Mysterio will forever stand as the ultimate test of two extremes. A mountain of muscle against a lightning bolt in a mask. A story where defeat didn't mean failure, it meant courage. The Great Khali showed the world what dominance looked like, but Rey Mysterio showed the world what defiance truly meant. And perhaps that's why years later, when fans talk about their clashes, it's not just the image of the Giant standing tall that they remember. It's the sight of a battered but unbroken Rey Mysterio rising again, whispering through pain. I might fall, but I'll never stop fighting. That's the essence of wrestling. That's the magic of Khali versus Mysterio. Kindly hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because we've got more legendary WWE rivalries and shocking behind-the-scenes stories coming your way every day. Don't miss out.